Welcome to the Bentley Systems training course where you will learn how to design steel connections in STAAD.Pro using RAM connection. In this video, we will focus on designing our beam column web connections to resist shear reactions. We will now turn our attention back to our sample model. To begin designing our beam column web connections for shear, we are going to start by selecting our beam column web joints. To do this, I'm going to go up to the Connection Design tab in the ribbon toolbar, click on my Select Joints icon, and then select all beam column web joints. Once that is complete, I'm going to go back up to my ribbon toolbar and select my basic connection workflow. Within the Basic Connections dialog, I'm going to select a connection family that is compatible with beam column web joints that can resist shear reactions. For this, I'm going to go with my shear end plate beam column web connection family, and then I'm going to select all of my connection templates that I want to be considered as a candidate for the currently selected joints. For this model, I'm going to assume that I would prefer all of my connections to be bolted connections using 3/4 inch diameter bolts. I'm going to move all of these end plate connections over to the selected area, and then we'll click OK to start the connection design. After the connection design is complete, I'm going to review my RAM connection validation report to see the status of the design. I can see that I have 3 different connections that were not assigned a connection template. And the reason for this is because the columns within these joints are HSS rectangular sections, and a bolted end plate connection is not compatible with those particular types of joints. Understanding that, I'm going to go on to review the rest of the assigned connections, and I'm going to take a look at the status of each one. All of the status of the assigned connections is indicated as OK, which means that a connection template was assigned to the joint and it passed all code checks without producing any warnings or errors. If I scroll down in my RAM connection input dialog, I can see all of my new end plate beam column web connections. If I want to review any of the connection design or geometry, I can go ahead and double click on it to review this information in the connection pad. Now let's go ahead and address those 3 HSS columns in my model. To make the selection a little easier, I'm going to spin my model around. I'm going to hold down my control key. I'm going to select the 3 HSS columns and the 3 beams that are framing into them. Now these beams are sloping members, so the unstiffened seated connections that we used in the previous video would not quite work for this particular geometry. So let's go ahead and assign a connection template that would work for this. I'm going to come up here, I'm going to select my basic connection option. I'm going to select a beam column web connection, and I'm going to go with a single plate connection. Now since I do have an HSS, now within the available window, I'm going to select all of the connection templates that I would like to use as a candidate for this connection design. The single plates are going to be welded to the columns, so that should work with the geometry of the joints that I have selected. Once I've selected the connection templates, I can click OK, and I can see that the status of the 3 connections were assigned with a status of OK. Again, if I want to review any further information, I can go ahead and click on that, and we can see the detail of the connection. This concludes our process for assigning beam column web connections to resist shear forces.
If you found this video helpful, please give it a like. If you want to see more such series, consider subscribing to our channel. Thank you, and see you next time.